Welcome to Research Renaissance, presented by the Karen Toffler Charitable Trust. We invite you into the stories, struggles, and breakthroughs shaping the future of human health. From cutting-edge brain science to discoveries transforming how we heal, adapt, and thrive, we explore the ideas that matter and the people behind them. Together, we look across diseases, technology, and research fields to understand not just what is changing, but why it matters for patients, families, and the future we all share. Join us as we uncover new insights, spark collaboration, and illuminate the science that can improve our lives. Welcome to Research Renaissance. I'm Deborah Westphal, your host and guide through the future of health science. Joining me today is Dr. Şiyar Bahadır, a neurosurgeon and a Elmezzi Scholar at the Feinstein Institute of Medical Research. Today we'll discuss the intersection of neuroscience and the future of neurosurgical innovation. So welcome, Şiyar.
Hello, welcome. Thanks for having me here.
I'm thrilled, and I'm excited to learn what you're doing. The first thing I would just like to kind of jump in here is you're a neurosurgeon, but you're also working on your PhD. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
So tell me about that journey. Like, how did you start as a neurosurgeon, and why did you get into research?
So I started neurosurgery, the path of neurosurgery with a very specific goal in mind. Before neurosurgery, I did 2 years of emergency medicine. And when I was doing my emergency medicine, I also had a very close friend who was paraplegic. And at that time, there was a paper that came out, and first time someone was able to get a paraplegic person up on their feet with help of bioelectronic therapies. So after seeing that, I was a very successful student, and it wasn't a big problem for me to get into neurosurgery. I decided that would be the path that I would go, and I decided that the bottleneck was the material itself, so the brain, the spine, and I went into neurosurgery with that goal, and I tried to raise myself as a neurosurgeon scientist while I was there. I already knew how to code, and I was a computer Olympics person in high school. And I also taught myself how to design tools to use them to get different parts of CNS, central nervous system. And right after it finished, so I knew that I was going to get into this field, but PhD wasn't really a hard planned thing. Around my second to third year in residency, I started working on human brain mapping, which was something that we needed in OR because we needed to understand relationships of, say, tumors with connections in the brain, so that we could refine our approaches and what we're going to do. So, and since I knew how to do software and I understood what goes in, what gets out, I was tasked with that, and I started doing human brain mapping research. And when I was finishing my residency, I saw an article that was talking about this NIH initiative that is doing vagus nerve mapping. And I was interested in vagus nerve, and I was interested in mapping brains and neural structures. So I just sent a message to my current PI. I told him, hey, these are my work. I do mapping. I know a lot of things. I can deal with the tissue, the biological structure, so the human body, and I can also deal with the digital parts of the endeavor. And then I came here as a PhD student. Now I'm mapping vagus nerve, and I'm building methods and like surgical methods, chemical methods, software methods to map the vagus nerve in very high detail.
So before we get to the vagus nerve, what is the Elmezzi Scholar? What does that mean to you? It's a very influential, appointment, correct?
Yes, it's very so. Feinstein Institute is we can say the birthplace of bioelectronic medicine, and Elmezzi scholars are specially selected MDs to train on cutting edge technologies and understand all the research that's going in Feinstein. And well, I'm very proud to be part of them. And it has a long history, and Feinstein Institute had another name before, so the alumni network is, I can say, big, and it's a big privilege to be here, to be in contact with people here, with the professors that have done enormous research, especially in neuroimmunology. It's a very, very important center in neuroimmunology. So it's a proud thing to be an Elmezzi scholar.
Yeah, and it kind of signals innovation and new frontiers.
Absolutely, we are strictly committed to translational science. So anything we do has to have an impact and translate into clinic. So that's how we think. That's how we are taught to think. That's why they only accept MDs, because they know that someone that has the perspective of an MD can have a certain advantages when it comes to translational research.
Yeah, you're kind of up close, personal when you're doing the surgery and you're working on patients. You got that more than just academic or research. You've got that practical capability too.
Absolutely, yes. So before coming here, because I have 450 operations in my logbook. So and I can say that each and every one of them was a challenge. Some were more challenging. At 4 a.m. there are 4 a.m. epidurals that are in my logbook. There are like more planned surgeries, but every single one of them was a challenge. And when I came here as a already trained neurosurgeon, and I started working on, so I saw the advantages right away. When I started working on the structure that I'm right now working on, there was already anatomists working on that, but they were using classical anatomy way of looking at cadavers. But I thought I should look at it a surgeon's way. So how do I make this most minimally invasively? And that perspective now is giving us a device. We built a device around that surgical technique that we developed, and it's it has many advantages to have been in the OR, to have spent time in OR.
Yeah. So let's go to the, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, the vagus nerve, correct?
Yes.
What is that, and why is it so important? And, why are you focusing, your effort exploring this area?
Vagus nerve it's very interesting, and it's one of the oldest neural structures in a body. Phylogenetically, you can trace it back to, like you can see it in sharks and lampreys and very, very simple animals. It's common. We share it with those kind of animals. And the most important thing about the vagus nerve is that it is literally the most important control point, or let's say control center for literally every organ function. Your airways, your lungs, your heart, your stomach, your pancreas, your liver, your spleen, your immune system, you name it. Everything interfaces with brain through the vagus nerve. So, and these happen, vagus nerve is like the sensory arm of the these functions, and these happen through reflexes. For example, the heart function is governed through different reflexes that control the heart rate through vagus, that control the blood pressure through vagus. So I'm interested in vagus because it is, if we can really unlock, let's say, its power, I do believe that it might give us a new medicine. It might cause such a big paradigm shift that you know, the medicine, the way that we know it, can be a history. Of course, there are we're not there because well, there are bottlenecks associated with it, which we are trying to overcome. But yeah, it's very important specifically because of, so this sense that's called interoception. But vagus nerve is the relay center, a relay for interoception. It's more like a sensory highway that has stations and, you know, roads going to each, and exits going to each and every one of these organs. And there's almost 80,000 nerve fibers in it, and each of them do a different thing. So there's work on vagus nerve stimulation to remedy heart failure. Well, the most important work is on rheumatoid arthritis, and rheumatologic, so immunologic aspects are right now really, we even have FDA-approved therapies now. But there are people trying to use it to regulate glucose levels, so pancreas function.
So it runs,
yeah.
so just a little bit, so it runs from your brain down through your spine?
No. So no. It's a cranial nerve. So okay. A cranial nerve exists through the head. Okay. And it exists from the brainstem, and right here, right behind your ear. Yeah. It's a little bit deep, and it's right. That is where it exits the skull, and it has two ganglia. Ganglia are groups of neuron bodies that are outside of the central nervous system. So they are also control units. So it has two ganglia, and then the entire nerve goes through your neck, with just right next to the carotids and your jugular, and then goes into the chest, and then goes to the abdomen.
So it's a very big structure that runs through your body with these little highways going to the organs, and so I can understand why it's complex in trying to understand, what it's doing, and does it have conflict? Is there conflict? And what I mean by that, are there because if it's really that central kind of control system, all the organs and such, if there is issue with one organ or one function, is there conflict that is occurring? And I don't know if I'm asking that correctly, but is that part of the understanding?
I think I understand what you're asking. So vagus nerve is the primary center for parasympathetic function. And there is an antagonist mechanism that's called the sympathetic system. So vagus works as the parasympathetic, and if the function of vagus on the organs are usually a result of this antagonism between the parasympathetic and sympathetic systems. So when we say heart rate regulation or blood pressure regulation, it's usually vagus sensing, let's say, blood pressure going up, and then sending it to the brain, sending the information to the brain, to brainstem, and that gets processed there. And for example, we get a signal to sympathetic system, which reduces our blood pressure. So exactly as you said, it has its own antagonistic mechanisms, and they work in unison. And vagus is long. It's actually not big. It's very tiny. It's like a cable, but it's long, and it starts from right under the head, and it goes to everywhere. And it was actually called, the vagus means the wandering nerve. So it wanders around the body.
Yeah. That's super interesting. So you talked about being in 450 surgeries, and I can't imagine what that's like, in the operating room where, you're really kind of tied to these human outcomes. How does this shape how you think about research questions when because you said, they're at the Feinstein, they get medical doctors to really kind of focus on that translational. What is that like? And I'm really curious, what are the commonalities that you see in the brain, and what are the things that really kind of surprise you that are really very different from person to person? Or is there any difference?
Well, so being in OR and doing surgery and being shaped by OR mentality in my research, I can say that, well, first of all, OR trains hypervigilance, and neurosurgery trains hypervigilance, and it makes a person more cutthroat, more focused on whatever is going to improve the process that we deliver care. And so I love the concept of extended mind. It's a concept from cognitive science. It's a 1999 paper from Andy Clark and David Chalmers, where they argue that our mind has extensions. A notebook can be an extension, and they define something called epistemic actions. These are actions where doesn't change the world, but changes our representation of the world. So they work by, they give this simple example of Tetris player. So a Tetris player doesn't think about turning a piece they have, but they just push a button to turn it and see if it fits or not, because that is less burdensome on their working memory. So I think that shaped us a lot in OR, because my role as a scientist when I was a resident would usually be getting 3D models of tumors and vascular lesions that we were going to operate on, and get a better understanding of the angle that we are going to go, of the extent of excision, because you can't excise whole tumor every time. You may lose some function. So that kind of mentality really shaped my research filter. And my research filter is like always clinically meaningful beats academically interesting. And what I try to do is always to find ways to reduce decision uncertainty. And I'm trying to make and find ways to make human body measurable and plannable and actionable. So that's most of what I'm doing, actually.
Yeah. How much difference will that be then, person to person? Or is there, will there be a lot of standardization to plan and to be actionable? And I don't know if this is a correct assumption. I would imagine early on we thought a brain is a brain is a brain. And there's common, but now there's so much that says that, there's common features or maybe functions, but when you really start looking closely, maybe even at the cellular level, we're very different. So, how do you do that to, make it plan and precision and actionable per person, especially when we don't necessarily have all the tools yet to look inside the brain before you go in and do your surgery?
Yeah. Well, this is a great question. I can tell you about a case that changed my entire understanding of everything about brain surgery and how brain shapes personality. I must say that firstly, there are standard functions of brain that is shared with everybody. So that makes it easier to plan and predict. However, these are not exactly the same. So I'll tell you about this person. He was our patient. He was, I think, 24 years old, father of two, that had a low-grade glioma that was close to his language centers. Actually, two tracts that are involved in language: frontal aslant tract and arcuate fasciculus. Not really important, but he was one of the first people that I was able to do mapping. And when we did the mapping, we were able to see that tumor, some part of the tumor was overlaying these let's say fascicles and pathways. We decided that we should do an awake surgery. So I did the planning. We went into the surgery, and awake surgery involves a lot of different teams: anesthesiology, psychologists, neurologists, electrophysiologists. So we assembled this big team. We started our surgery, and we did some awake mapping. That's where neurophysiology stops being, abstract. And how does awake mapping works? Very shortly, it's if you stimulate certain parts of the brain with low electricity, you basically stun that little part of the brain. And if let's say that part moves the arm, then arm movement is lost for a transient period. And if that region is controlling speech, then a phenomenon called speech arrest happens. So intraoperatively, we made our patients speak while we were stimulating different parts. And wherever the speech arrest happening, we would put some markers there to show the boundary of the language center so he doesn't lose his language. And because he was a low-grade glioma, if we could get the whole tumor out, we would be making him a big favor, and his life expectancy would be way higher than the scenario where we would leave some tumor. However, we also didn't want him to lose his speech because he had 2 children that he needed to take care of and he needed to work. So we continued the surgery, but we had to leave like 20% of the tumor there. But he didn't lose his speech, or at least we thought so. During surgery, he was able to speak, but after surgery, when we woke him up, he wasn't speaking. And well, it was a big sobering experience, massive failure, because there's 5-6 different teams involved, and we thought he was going to speak, and we even left some tumor there. And so sometimes after surgery, it happens transient. We thought it would be so. No, he actually lost his speech. And then we were thinking, okay, what are we going to do now? He already lost his speech. Why don't we go back in and just take the entire tumor, and at least we give him a long life, you know? But interestingly, at the same time, we had a lecture from a renowned European French neurosurgeon, Hugo Dufault, who has this theory about, he calls meta-network theory, where he speaks how brain reorganizes itself, the network reorganizes itself to get back to its previous state. And actually, we asked him, what are we going to do now? So he told us, wait, don't go and do surgery now, because it can wait for 6 months. Low-grade glioma, it grows slowly. He said, go for rehab, try getting him to speak again, and then do your surgery. And we did so, and he did learn to speak again in 6 months. And we went back, we did an awake surgery again, and the same region, the exact same place on his brain that previously we got speech arrest was not giving us anything this time. So the region of speech literally moved to somewhere else. So we were now able to excise the entire tumor, and he was fine. So when I left there 2 years ago, he was in pretty good shape, and he was very happy with his children. So this taught me something. The brain is not the same, even in the same person. With time, with rehab, with learning new things, your brain physically changes, physically reorganizes. So it's very humbling to know that. Recently, I read a paper where the authors were arguing that some processes are shared, like visual cortex, like auditory cortex, like more low-level sensory operations are shared across individuals. However, higher-level processes that involve a coordination of all of the brain differ significantly. So I think that would be an answer to this question.
Yeah. So was that the area that the language capability moved to or moved from, was that just then dead space, or did something else move into it, or do you not know?
Well, I think we can't know that because we couldn't test any type of arrest of behavior for there, but nothing happened. So sometimes you can just get a bulk of brain out, and not seemingly no big change happens. And that was so in that case.
What does that tell us then? I mean, if we, would that someday, would that tell us where we could possibly move functions to? Like in this case, it was the body did that naturally, right? It kind of cured itself, But would there be a proactive, would that be a part of this kind of surgery that says, hey, there's things that we have to go in, we have to take these things out because it's really bad, but we don't want to impact the person's motor skills or language. Let's migrate that capability to another part of the brain that might be able to share in that function. I mean, is there
That's a great idea.
it's it's kind of like I think about like an energy, if one generator goes down, you can move that to another generator. It's not optimum, but at least it keeps everything going. And I think about that in the context of cognitive decline, right?
I see.
If we have these, especially as we age or whatever it may be, if there's cognitive decline, would we ever maybe be able to find a way to say, hey, let's migrate some of this and get some of it back? Maybe not all of it, but it wouldn't be as devastating.
Definitely, that's a great idea. And I think this is naturally happening with rehab and with, in the context of cognitive decline, we know that some exercises and, being social helps. So this helping is probably plasticity still continuing. So the plasticity, what that network understanding taught me, that plasticity is not only about neuron level, cell level, molecular level things, but it can be about, just like you said, the network level interactions. A piece of the network might be just gone, and the rest of the network can still do approximately the same thing by routing through different nodes on that network. Does that mean we can use this to change and like push and physically use somewhere else in our brain for certain functions? Well, I don't know, but that would be amazing. Yes. I'm interested. I'm not doing that, but I'm following work by Michael Levin. I think that gives us some insights on regeneration and physical decisions made by cell and ensembles of cells. So there is certainly some research being done that is going to give us more insights about these kind of processes.
Yeah. Maybe there's some kind of, regenerative a shot or something that goes in there that kind of helps that those networks to form. But so you kind of alluded to it, but this bioelectric medicine, and I don't know if I'm calling that right. What is that, and what are you doing in this area, and kind of maybe give us some of the history and why is this important?
Bioelectronic medicine. So we talked about vagus nerve, and so before we knew vagus nerve was involved in a lot of these processes, but and we were actually stimulating vagus nerve for epilepsy, and but nobody really thought that we could use that to treat internal medicine related diseases, inflammatory diseases, for example. So in 2000 actually, Kevin Tracy, he is the we can say that he's the father of bioelectronic medicine, and he's still working here at Feinstein. He's our CEO right now. He publishes a paper arguing that since vagus is controlling something we call inflammatory reflex, maybe stimulating that might help in the context of inflammatory diseases. So that reframed the disease. And so in the sense that we not only can use molecules, but we can use the control loops, and we can tune those to initiate the body's own capabilities and cure disease that way. So, and then it gained momentum around like 2010s. I think Department of Defense invested in it. There was this concept of electroceuticals was, emerging. And then, there's this, and then it started turning into a real device.
So this
Which
is like using electrical signals, right? It might be in a cap, or it might be, some sort of implement, embedded. You're talking about, really kind of that biology and electrical interface somehow.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So the vagus nerve is what we are interfacing.
Right.
And the easiest way to really interface with vagus nerve is on the neck. You just open the skin and you find the nerve, and there's a little stimulator. You hook it on that nerve, and that gives you ability to stimulate the nerve in the ways that you want. And then Kevin Tracy thought that could be used to treat inflammatory diseases, and they did so. So we're at the point now, RESET RA, this was the name of the study, RESET rheumatoid arthritis. It was a clinical trial that this concept was tried, and College of Rheumatology has a criterion that's called ACR20, which basically tells you if a drug is working or not. And I think 270 patients were enrolled, all of them using multiple drugs. They are not happy. They had to get a surgery for their an experimental surgery actually for their disease. And
was this across a bunch of different diseases out of that 270 that were being caused by inflammation, or was it one disease?
It was rheumatoid arthritis, which is a disease that's caused by inflammation.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And they were, so at the end of a year, 50% of those were better. And they didn't need to add any new drugs. And, it really worked for them. Actually, at the end of third month, so there was two groups. One group was receiving stimulation, the other group wasn't receiving. At the end of third month, they saw that, the group that is getting the stimulation is getting better. So they just thought, okay, everybody has to get this because it's just morally not okay to not give this to the other group. So a month ago or so, 2 months ago, it got its FDA approval. And now, so the phase 3 is over. Now we are in phase 4, which is going to be used in real life on real people. And we're going to see how it works and if there's any side effects or not. And if there wasn't any major side effects in the study, but we're going to see how it works in real life.
Wow. So are they going to also test how long this treatment lasts? Is it, do you get the treatment and then the inflammation doesn't come back, the disease doesn't come back, or is there a time limit where you have to maybe once a year come back and get a booster? What do they know yet?
So that's a good question. Right now, the way that the stimulation works is like this. So we place the implant under the skin, next to vagus nerve. So taking it out is not really feasible. So once you get it, it's there. We can always stimulate the vagus with that. And the way they treated the patients in the clinical trial that I just talked about was they were just giving 1 minute of stimulation every day, and that was it. So I think they continue. I must say that I don't exactly know because I wasn't in the study,
Sure.
but I think they continue getting the treatment.
Yeah, that's super interesting because you talked about the importance of this nerve, and if you can, because I think you said they put the little connector in there and it stays, and so that's where then that's the portal, if you would, for the treatment, yeah, that's really interesting. Because a lot of people suffer from that disease, and would that understanding of being cured for this disease, does that then lead to maybe other things, around organ failure or different kind of motor, where you could just attach to this highway and apply a different kind of treatment?
Well, that's what our research is on. So because now we have seen that this treatment is successful, we are now thinking, how can we extend this to other diseases? I think one of the primary targets are other inflammatory diseases because, it worked in rheumatoid arthritis. But some secondary and more long-term targets are all the other systems that we just talked about. It can help with pulmonary diseases. There's a lot of people with pulmonary hypertension that doesn't have any real long-lasting treatment. It can be used for heart failure. It can be used for even the diabetes, like there are people that are trying to do that, but there is the bottleneck to that is that we do not know the exact fiber by fiber, cell by cell anatomy at that resolution, and we have to first understand that, and then we have to also develop technologies that let us target subsections or like different parts of those fibers and cells that we map.
Yeah, which is fascinating to me because we started this by saying, mapping the brain and the importance of mapping the brain. But you're really mapping the system of systems that are in the human. And so neurosurgery now becomes an understanding of the larger interfaces that happen with the brain. And which, that's interesting to me because a lot of the science or the institutional kind of construct that we have or the funding that we have is really around an organ or a disease or, are there many people that are starting to kind of become these systems mappers that, or is this just a kind of an emerging area that is really needed? Because, our institutions, and I'm using that in the broadest sense, and we had to do that as we were learning. You had to focus on something. Now the big kind of understanding is cross-functional. It's multidisciplinary. It is a much more complex situation here. I don't know what your thoughts are on the future of neurosurgery, and as you learn, more and more about, this major highway, and like, what are your thoughts?
So I don't want to hype, but I do really believe that neurosurgery is going to become a way that we treat all these different diseases in the future. And for me, mapping these structures, so that for that question, I can say that brain mapping is now sort of popular because there was big initiatives started at 2015s in US. It was the Brain Initiative. There was the Blue Brain Project in Europe. China had their own brain project, and the outputs of these projects were that there are very standardized ways of mapping human brain with AI and all these tools. It was actually it's now starting to be common among and being used. However, there are still unmet and unexplored or less explored parts of human body. Vagus is the most primary one. I think we are doing a great job here. My PI, Stavros Zanos, I respect him a lot, and he was the one that was mapping the vagus here first, and I'm learning from him. What made me so I can say that I'm at a very unique position to map these structures because I can deal with the body. So this is how my research works in real life. I get a body, a cadaver, and I dissect their cadaver and get their vagus nerve out, and I follow it to heart. I'm mapping the connections between the vagus and the heart, and I look at every branch that goes to heart. I dissect them out, and we have this chemical procedure where we take the entire nerve, we process it for 2 months, and at the end it becomes glass-like. So it's completely transparent, and we also tag the proteins that are in the neurons that shows us where the neuron is going, and then we can take it to a new kind of microscope that's called light sheet microscope that sends sheets of light through that transparent organ or like biological structure, and then we can get very high definition images up to micron level, even half micron level, that shows us cell bodies or fibers. And then I can take those images, and my software developer part then takes starts working, and we try with AI, with other methodologies, we try turning those images into measurable parametric computer models where we can track each of these fibers, each of these cells from their origin to their target. So there is initiatives and there is work on mapping, but I think we're not there yet. I think we need more. My personal one of my personal goals is to map an entire human body sometime in the future.
Wow. That's it sounds time consuming and it sounds expensive. I mean, that's expensive research, correct?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you said that, you don't want to hype it, but you think neurosurgeons will be kind of the focal point for most any of the kind of diseases or conditions. Here in the United States, I think people aren't going into neuro surgery. They're not. We've got kind of it's declining as far as the number. Is that your understanding? Do we have that next generation that's coming up behind you to take over and to, if it's that important, is there going to be enough people that are like you?
Well, neurosurgery is very difficult. It demands a lot. It's dangerous. It's hard on body. It's hard on mind. And when I finished my residency, I had tendonitis on both of my legs because of undersleeping, because my nutrition was not good, and med students see that, see how difficult it is, see how dangerous it is. Any small mistake can turn into catastrophe. Even if you do everything right, it still can be, you still can be humbled. And people see that. Neurosurgery is not a simple life. People in their 50s and their 60s still work 80 hours a week. Well, partly because they're passionate about the work, because it also is a field that just doesn't accept anybody that's not extremely passionate. That it has its own filters, I can tell you that. I do believe that, there is going to be people that want to put themselves in this position and brave enough and hardworking enough to do these. But there is also a general tendency to stay away from these kind of hard jobs too. So I think, but I'm positive and I'm optimist, because I'm seeing many people here. I mean, I myself, I'm not licensed in US. I'm also, I'm going to be try to be one of neurosurgeons working in US in the future. And I'm also seeing a lot of young people that are very interested in this, that are there at 4:30, just shadowing, 4:30 a.m. shadowing a neurosurgeon. So I have my hopes in them.
Yeah. Do you think as we get, and I'm throwing me in there, it's as you get and your peers get more and more information about that mapping and about using that technology to really understand, will it make, not easier, but will it be something that there'll be enough tools to help neurosurgeons to where it wouldn't be, some of that stress can be taken off of them?
Yes, absolutely. That's where we're going. And so the neurosurgeon of 1900s had to rely on simple X-rays, and everything had to live in their brain, and the tools weren't, advanced. But the neurosurgeons of now have MRI, and this is the layer that at the most bottom, and on top of the MRI, they can have 3D models. They can now track the different fibers within the brain, fiber bundles that go different places and connect different parts of the cortex. And they can see functional parts of the brain by using fMRI. And also there are navigation systems that in real time show the neurosurgeon where they are in the brain, in the real space, and show it on a virtual space on monitors. And we can do mapping, we can do a lot of things, and all of these, and now AI is coming. And all of these, so I told the epistemic actions, all of these are epistemic actions that take off that load off the working memory of the surgeon, and letting them to concentrate on what matters. And I think I see that because, for example, now network-aware surgery is something. I am helping a great surgeon here in Manoxil, Randy D'Amico. He does tumor surgery, and I'm trying to help his team with connectomics. And so he does network-aware surgery, and more people are coming that pay attention to details that were not being paid attention to before. Now we are starting to talk about more like the cell, because I told you that you can take a bulk of brain out and it might seemingly not change anything at all. But we're trying to understand even the slightest changes, and we're trying to stop those changes to happen. So the neurosurgery as a field is getting more and more precise. And I'm not going to say that it's getting easy, but it is progressing in a way that is easing off some of the older concerns so that we can focus on new concerns. So I think, and also, well, robotic surgery is getting better. There are companies like Neuralink that are trying to make everything automated. So these kind of initiatives are also going to increase. And I think they're going to help the future neurosurgeon.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, the conversation started with patient outcome, and you know, it as you said, it may be a different complexities or different problems, but patient outcome is, you know, that probability goes up, and I would imagine that becomes easier as a surgeon if you've got better technology, better understanding. That worry, that risk is adjusted.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when do you, so you've got your MD, you want to practice here in the United States, you're probably going through all that process. Your PhD, when do you defend, and how many more years do you have to, you know, go through that process?
So I will be defending in this September. Even maybe
wonderful.
even a little earlier. I'm working on we are publishing my first paper soon. It's going to be all the branches of the vagus nerve and which different organ systems is touching and where they are emerging over the vagus nerve. And then I'm also working on on another project where I'm trying to see how many nerves there are and what are their types, different types of nerve fibers. And the holy grail that I'm going to publish, hopefully, is that process that I just told you about, which lets us, right now, we're not there yet. It doesn't let me track the entire course of the vagus nerve. But when I'm done, that's going to be my primary outcome here. And I'm going to be hopefully defending in September.
That's wonderful. Well, I know you share on LinkedIn, you do share some of the graphics, you share your thoughts about some of these maps, and it's interesting to me to see what you're doing, and you know, they're simplified. They're not cartoonish, but they're simplified to where it starts to really, I think, communicate in an easier way. So I appreciate you doing that, and anybody that's listening should find you on LinkedIn, and because you post quite often your thoughts.
Yeah.
So is that some of the you know, the purpose there too, is to be able to, because I know researchers sometimes it's really complicated, and the ease to communicate, and what you're doing is, I mean, it's hitting on people that have no background. I don't have a background in this, so I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Well, I do them because I like being a science communicator, And I also think that this is a giant thing, the bioelectronic medicine. We are getting a lot of funding and there's a lot of interest in here, but I think it's not there yet. I think it has to be huge. And I think people has to know what's going on, what we're working on, what all this effort is for. And I think those have to be communicated in simple ways. And those infographics are for that. Each of those show a different reflex, a different reflex that vagus nerve is involved, which all of them tell us, I put them there to make people ask, hey, what if I manipulate this reflex? Because each of those reflexes, if they be manipulated, if they be controlled, if they be hacked, can realistically turn into therapies, which would only be possible with, like, as I said, precision modulation devices and technologies, which is being developed in our lab. As I said, by my mentor, Stavros Zanos, and a lot of other people working on it, and also precise mapping. Right now, we are although I believe that the therapy that we have is amazing, it's more like playing a piano with a fire hose. It's because there's no precision there. What we're trying to do is to get our fingers touch the different keys on the piano.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. So as we wrap up here, we've covered a lot, and I appreciate your time, and I'm coming away with a better understanding of the importance of what you're doing and this amazing nerve that's in our body, but is there anything that we should have talked about that we just didn't touch that you think is important?
Not really. I mean, I think we covered everything I would have to say. I would maybe just recommend Kevin Tracy's book that's out, The Great Nerve. I would definitely recommend everybody to read that. It's really eye-opening. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else to say.
Wonderful. We'll put that in the show notes. And are you willing, if somebody's interested in what you're doing, for them to contact you? And so what would that contact information be?
My email is sbahadir@northwell.edu. They can always email me, and I have a LinkedIn profile. My name is Şiyar Bahadır, SIYAR BAHADIR. That's how they can find me. And I'm always open, and I always respond to messages as fast as possible. So I would definitely love to hear from people that are interested in this.
Wonderful. Well, we'll put that in the show notes too, and good luck on your defending. That's amazing, and boy, I really appreciate with what you're doing and just the time that you spent with us here today. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you for joining Research Renaissance. For more information and to stay updated, subscribe for more episodes and visit our website at tofflertrust.org. Feel free to call us if you have any thoughts, suggestions, or just want to find out more about the Karen Toffler Charitable Trust. Until we meet again, onward and upward.